Trayvon Martin's parents were able to bring their distress and frustration over the death of their son to the halls of Congress Tuesday. Our next guest was a participant in that forum. Joining us, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee of Texas. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good to talk with you, Martin. How are you this afternoon?
I'm well. Did you hear yourself anything offensive in the president's public comments on Trayvon Martin? Because a number of people are apoplectic over it, not least Newt Gingrich, who of course previously referred to the current incumbent of the White House as the food stamps president. Was it offensive of the president to simply mention the fact that if he had a son, it would be likely that he'd look like Trayvon Martin?
Contrary. Deepest sympathy as a parent to Trayvon's parent. That's how the president spoke as a chief parent in residence to all parents, to all Americans. And you know, it is the United States here yesterday was a this was all unfortunately by some of those in the Sanford Police Department.
But you say that this nation needs to heal, and yet this young man, now deceased, there appears to be a full-scale attempt at character assassination. I mean, what does any suspension from school have to do with the fact that George Zimmerman chose to confront and then shoot him, and this against the advice of the dispatcher?
Martin, I wonder if we could have a hand raising and poll CEOs, members of Congress, presidents, and find out whether they had any moment of suspension or being in the corner during their career as a student, as a child. This young man was a child, and in fact, no evidence of juvenile delinquency, no arrest, no evidence that anything was awry with the so-called items that was found. He was a kid, and yes, as a male child, a black boy. And I will frankly say, there is a challenge in the survival of black boys in this country, and Latino boys, minority boys. And so these parents, working parents, worked so hard to ensure this young man had an opportunity. That was no reason for his death. This is character assassination. Wouldn't we do better to spend more time leaking the truth, meaning leaking the facts of why we didn't initiate an arrest in the first place, which did not and would not result in a conviction. An arrest is an evidence that there is confusion, a man is dead, a young man, a child is dead, and there is no contravening serious evidence to suggest that he needed to die. He was not in the act of any criminal activity. He was on a sidewalk, Martin, and every citizen in this country is allowed under the Constitution, the First Amendment, in fact, to walk freely in this nation.
Indeed. Finally and briefly, if I may, do you believe, are you confident that with the pressure that's being applied on the authorities, that there may yet be at least an arrest of the man who shot and killed this 17-year-old boy?
Well, I hope that those who are listening, viewing this program, do not start shouting out, tainting the case. Absolutely, there should be arrest. And frankly, the state attorney, sadly, has now come into a case where so much evidence, Martin, has been lost. Clothing, no alcohol tests taken or drug tests taken, no DNA evidence. This is all in the public domain. So they will have to reconstruct the case based upon the mismatch of witnesses' testimony. There are witnesses who say this is what happened to Trayvon. They saw the perpetrator, Mr. Zimmerman, standing over him. There's a girlfriend who says he was walking. So she will have to construct the case, and I believe that there is sufficient basis for at least a preliminary hearing. That's what you have after you're arrested. Indeed. And the gentleman may bond out. He should be arrested. What would we say me if it was the other shoe. The shoe was on the other foot, and it was Mr. Martin, young Mr. Martin. These parents have lost their baby. There are parents across America who've lost their child, and they just beg for the justice system to work for them as it works for others.
Indeed. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, as ever, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be right back.